The box hit me square in the chest before I even saw it coming. "You call this a gift?" Jasmine's voice cut through the birthday party chatter like a knife. The beautiful jewelry box I'd spent months picking out clattered to the floor, its contents spilling across my daughter's pristine hardwood floors. My handmade quilt, the one I'd sewn with pieces from every important moment in her life, lay crumpled at my feet. I stood there, 72 years old, in front of 30 family members and friends, holding my chest where the corner of that box had struck. The room went silent. My grandbabies, Amari and Zara, stopped playing and stared with wide eyes. "Mama worked on that for—" I started to say, but Jasmine wasn't finished. "For what? To remind me I come from nothing?" She stepped closer, and I could smell the wine on her breath. "While you're living in that big house Daddy left you, you bring me some old scraps of fabric?" That's when her husband Darnell stepped forward. He was a tall man, always wore suits even on weekends, always had that smile that never quite reached his eyes. He put his hand on Jasmine's shoulder, but he wasn't trying to calm her down. No, he was encouraging her. "Baby, your mama don't understand," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "She's getting confused in her old age. Probably forgot what day it was until this morning. Isn't that right, Mother Harris?" The way he said Mother Harris made my skin crawl, like he was talking to a child, like I wasn't standing right there with my college degrees on my wall at home and 40 years of teaching behind me. I bent down to pick up my quilt, my knees protesting, and that's when Jasmine kicked it away from me. Actually kicked it, like it was trash. "Leave it," she hissed. Then she leaned close, so close I could see the hardness in her eyes that I'd never seen before. "You embarrass me, Mama. Coming here in your old clothes, bringing your old things, acting like you don't have a mansion sitting empty while you rattle around in it alone." Before we continue, shout out to Keisha from Detroit. We appreciate the love you show by commenting and sharing. I should tell you how we got here. How my baby girl, the one I carried for 9 months, the one I worked double shifts to put through college, the one who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, turned into this stranger standing in front of me. It started about 6 months ago, right after my 72nd birthday. I'd been living alone in the house my husband Bernard left me when he passed 5 years back. It's a beautiful home in the Baldwin Hills area, 4 bedrooms, that garden Bernard and I had planted together, the porch where we'd spent summer evenings. Every corner held a memory. Jasmine started calling more often. At first I was happy. After she married Darnell 3 years ago, the calls had become less frequent. She was busy with her new life, her new friends, her husband's real estate business. I understood. But then suddenly, she was calling every day. "Mama, you taking your medicine?" she'd ask. "Mama, did you remember to pay the water bill? Mama, you left the stove on again, didn't you?" Except I hadn't left the stove on. I took my medicine every morning with my coffee, had for years, and I'd never missed a bill payment in my life. "Baby, I'm fine," I'd tell her. "Your mama still got all her marbles." Then Darnell started showing up. "Just dropping by," he'd say, checking on me. He'd walk through my house with his phone out, taking pictures. "For insurance purposes," he'd claim. "In case something happens, we need documentation of your valuables." I didn't like it, but Jasmine said I was being paranoid. "Darnell's just trying to help, Mama. He's good with finances. Better than Daddy ever was." That last part stung. Bernard had worked 2 jobs to give us everything. He might not have worn fancy suits like Darnell, but he'd been a good man. Things got stranger. My neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, sweet lady who'd lived next door for 20 years. She pulled me aside after church one Sunday. "Evelyn, I saw your daughter and her husband at your house yesterday," she said, her voice low. "You weren't home. Your car was gone. But they were inside. They have a key," I explained, "for emergencies." Mrs. Patterson touched my arm. "Honey, they were carrying boxes out to a truck." My blood ran cold. "What kind of boxes?" "I don't know, but it looked like they were moving things." I almost called the police, but then I recognized them. I drove straight home. My house looked the same, but when I checked, little things were missing. The silver tea set Bernard's mother had given us. Some of my good china. Photo albums from when Jasmine was little. When I called Jasmine, she had an explanation ready. "Mama, you asked me to hold on to those things. Don't you remember? You said you were worried about burglars." Her voice was patient, like she was talking to someone with dementia. "This is exactly what we've been worried about. You're forgetting conversations we just had." "I never said that, Jasmine." "Mama, please. Darnell and I think you should see a doctor. Just get checked out, for our peace of mind." I went to my doctor, Dr. Williams, who I'd been seeing for 15 years. He ran every test you could think of. Memory tests, blood work, brain scans. "Mrs. Harris, you're sharp as a tack," he told me, shaking his head. "Sharper than people half your age. Your memory is excellent. Whatever your daughter's concerned about, it's not dementia or Alzheimer's." I had him write it all down, every test result, every assessment. I made copies and kept them in my safe deposit box at the bank. Something told me I might need them, but Jasmine didn't want to hear it. When I showed her the doctor's report, she barely glanced at it. "Mama, of course you'd pass tests in a doctor's office. It's at home where we see the problems. You call me 3 times a day asking the same questions." "I call you once a day, if that," I said. "And I never ask the same thing twice." Darnell jumped in. "Mother Harris, we have the phone records. We can show you." I knew right then they were lying. But why? What did they want? The answer came 2 weeks before that birthday party. I was at my friend Cynthia's house for our weekly card game. Cynthia and I had taught together for years, and after we retired, we'd kept up the tradition. That night, it was me, Cynthia, and 2 other ladies from our church, Dolores and Shirley. "Girl, my niece works at a law office downtown," Dolores said, dealing cards. She was telling me about this case they had where a son tried to declare his mother incompetent so he could take over her finances. My hands froze over my cards. Shirley shook her head. "That's terrible. How could children do that to their own parents?" "Money," Cynthia said flatly. "It's always about money. They get you declared incompetent, get power of attorney, and then they can do whatever they want with your assets." I felt sick. How would something like that work? Dolores looked at me over her reading glasses. "They'd need to prove you couldn't manage your own affairs. Show a pattern of confusion, forgetfulness, poor decision-making. Get doctors to say you're a danger to yourself. Then a judge could appoint a conservator." "Could the family member be the conservator?" I asked. "Oh yes, that's usually what they push for. Then they have total control. They could sell your house, drain your bank accounts, put you in a facility. All perfectly legal if a judge signs off on it." The room started spinning. The phone calls, the missing items, the accusations of forgetfulness, the pictures of my house. They were building a case. "Evelyn, you okay?" Cynthia reached for my hand. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I told them everything. Every strange visit, every accusation, every missing item. By the time I finished, all 3 women were furious. "You need a lawyer," Cynthia said immediately. "My nephew Clayton just opened his own practice. Family law. I'll call him tonight." "And you need to document everything," Dolores added. "Every interaction, every conversation, date and time." I met with Clayton the next day. He was a sharp young man. Couldn't have been more than 35, but he knew his stuff. He listened to my whole story, looked at my doctor's reports, and leaned back in his chair. "Mrs. Harris, I'm going to be straight with you. What your daughter and son-in-law are attempting is called elder financial abuse. It's a crime, but it's hard to prove until they actually file for conservatorship. Right now, they're in the setup phase. What do I do? First, change all your locks, today. Second, revoke any power of attorney you might have given them. Third, we document everything and wait. If they file for conservatorship, we'll be ready to fight it. And Mrs. Harris will win. You're clearly competent, you have doctor's reports to prove it, and I'll make sure the judge sees exactly what they're trying to do." I felt some relief, but Clayton wasn't done. "There's something else you should know. If they're this desperate, they might escalate. Be careful. Don't let them isolate you from your friends and support system. That's usually the next step." He was right. That same week, Jasmine insisted on throwing me a birthday party at her house. "Mama, you deserve to be celebrated," she said on the phone, her voice sweet as honey. "I'll invite the whole family, Uncle Raymond, Aunt Gloria, all the cousins. It'll be beautiful." I didn't want to go. Something felt wrong. But refusing would have looked strange, would have given them ammunition to say I was being paranoid or confused. So I made my gift. That quilt took me 3 months. I cut pieces from Jasmine's baby blanket, her prom dress, her college graduation gown. I included fabric from her wedding dress, from Bernard's favorite shirt. Every piece told a story of our family, our love, our history. In the jewelry box, I placed my mother's pearl earrings, the ones that had been passed down through 3 generations. But I also did something else. At the very bottom of that box, under a false bottom I'd carefully constructed, I hid something they didn't know about. Something that would change everything. The party was packed. Jasmine had invited everyone we knew. She'd even hired a photographer and a videographer. "To capture the memories," she said. But I knew better. They were documenting this for their case, showing how they included me in family events, how they cared for me. I watched Jasmine work the room all afternoon. She'd introduce me to people I'd known for decades, then whisper loud enough for them to hear. "Mama sometimes forgets names, so I like to help her out." When it came time for gifts, she made a big show of it. Had me sit in a special chair in the center of the room while everyone gathered around. The photographer moved in close. "Open Mama's gift first," someone called out. Jasmine's smile was tight as she took my box. She opened it slowly, pulled out the quilt, and I watched her face change. This wasn't joy or appreciation. This was rage. That's when she said those words that cut me to the bone. "You call this a gift?" And that's when she threw the box at me. Now I was on my knees, trying to pick up my quilt while my daughter stood over me and 30 people watched in shocked silence. "Jasmine, baby, what's wrong?" Uncle Raymond finally spoke up. "Your mama worked hard on that." "What's wrong?" Jasmine's voice rose. "I'll tell you what's wrong. My mother is losing her mind, and no one wants to admit it. She lives in a 4-bedroom house by herself, can't remember to take her medicine, keeps calling me asking questions she just asked an hour before. She's not safe anymore, and this—" She kicked the quilt again. "This proves it. She thought some old rags would make a good birthday present because she can't tell the difference anymore." Darnell stepped forward again. "We didn't want to do this publicly, but maybe it's time everyone knew. We've been trying to get Mother Harris help. We've consulted with doctors, lawyers, care facilities. She needs professional supervision. We've found a wonderful nursing home." "I'm not going to any nursing home," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "I'm perfectly healthy. I have doctor's reports." "Reports from months ago," Jasmine interrupted. "Before things got really bad. Mama, we love you. That's why we're doing this. The house is too much for you. You need to be somewhere safe, where people can watch over you. And don't worry about the house. Darnell and I will take care of it. We'll make sure it's sold properly, that the money goes into your care." There it was, the real reason. My house was worth over $1 million now. Prime Los Angeles real estate that had tripled in value since Bernard and I bought it 40 years ago. Amari started crying. Little Zara ran to me and wrapped her arms around my legs. "Don't take Grandma away," she sobbed. Jasmine pulled Zara back roughly. "Go to your room, both of you." I stood up, my knees protesting, my chest still aching from where the box had hit me. I looked around at my family, at my friends, at all these people I'd known for years. Some looked shocked, some looked uncomfortable, some looked like they believed Jasmine. I'm not going anywhere, I said quietly. And you're not taking my house. Darnell laughed. Mother Harris, you don't have a choice. We've already filed the paperwork. Next week we go before a judge. We have documentation of your declining mental state. We have witnesses who'll testify. Your own phone records show the confusion. In 2 weeks, maybe 3, you'll be in Sunshine Valley Care Facility and we'll have power of attorney. The room exploded. Uncle Raymond shouted. Aunt Gloria started crying. Friends were asking questions all at once. But I just stood there, looking at my daughter, at this woman who used to be my baby girl. Jasmine, I said softly, and something in my tone made the room quiet down. Did you look at the bottom of that box? She frowned. What? The jewelry box. Did you look at the bottom? Under where the earrings were? She picked up the box from the floor, dumped out the earrings without even looking at them. I watched her fingers find the false bottom, watched her pry it up. Her face went white. What is it? Darnell moved closer. Jasmine pulled out the papers I'd hidden there. The papers she was now reading, her hands shaking. Mama, she whispered, what did you do? I smiled for the first time all day. What I should have done 6 months ago. I protected myself. See, you weren't the only one who could file paperwork. You weren't the only one who could see lawyers. And you definitely weren't the only one who could document things. Darnell snatched the papers from Jasmine's hands. As he read, I watched the color drain from his face, too. This isn't... You can't, he sputtered. Oh, I can, I said. And I did. See, while you two were busy building your case against me, I was building mine against you. Every lie you told, every item you stole from my house, every forged signature on documents you thought I didn't know about, it's all documented, all reported. And that packet you're holding? That's just a copy. The real evidence is with the district attorney's office. The room was dead silent now. Everyone was staring at the papers in Darnell's shaking hands. You want to know what elder financial abuse looks like? I continued, my voice getting stronger with every word. It looks like a daughter and her husband systematically trying to steal a home from a healthy, competent woman. It looks like fraud. It looks like conspiracy. And according to my lawyer, it looks like 5 to 10 years in prison. Jasmine's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the floor, still staring at those papers. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. You thought you were so smart, I said, looking at both of them. You thought I was just some confused old lady you could manipulate. But I'm Bernard Harris's wife, and he taught me to always have a backup plan. I'm Evelyn Harris, and I taught hundreds of children over 40 years, including you, Jasmine, and I know how to spot a lie. And I'm your mama, which means I know you better than you know yourself. I picked up my quilt, folded it carefully, and tucked it under my arm. Then I picked up my mother's earrings and put them in my purse. The party's over, I announced to the room. I'm going home, to my home, where I'll continue to live, in perfect mental health, for as long as I please. I started toward the door, but Darnell blocked my path. His face had gone from pale to red, and his hands were balled into fists. You're not going anywhere, he said, his voice low and dangerous. Not until we figure this out. You've ruined everything. Move, I said. No. He stepped closer. You think you're so smart? You think you've won? Let me tell you something, old woman. That's when Uncle Raymond and 2 of my cousins stepped between us. Back up, son, Uncle Raymond said. Before you do something else, you'll regret. But Darnell was beyond reason now. I could see it in his eyes. All that careful planning, all those months of manipulation, crumbling around him. He shoved Uncle Raymond aside and lunged for me. What happened next seemed to happen in slow motion. Darnell's hand caught my shoulder, spinning me around. I stumbled, lost my balance. The floor came up fast, and I felt my hip connect hard with the hardwood. Pain exploded through my side. Through the ringing in my ears, I heard screaming. Amari and Zara were crying. People were shouting. Someone was calling 911, and the videographer, the one Jasmine had hired to document this perfect family party, had caught it all on camera. I woke up in a hospital bed with Cynthia holding my hand and Clayton sitting in the corner reviewing papers. My hip throbbed, my head felt foggy, and for a moment I couldn't remember how I got there. "Easy, Evelyn," Cynthia said softly. "You took a bad fall, fractured your hip. They did surgery last night." It all came flooding back. The party, the box, Darnell's hands on me, the floor rushing up. "The video!" I croaked. "Did they—" Clayton stood up, and I'd never seen a lawyer look so satisfied. "Mrs. Harris, that videographer sent me everything. Full HD footage of Darnell assaulting you in front of 30 witnesses. I've already shared it with the DA. He was arrested last night." My eyes filled with tears, but they weren't tears of pain. They were tears of relief. "And Jasmine?" I asked. "She's been questioned. They're building a case." Clayton pulled his chair closer. "Mrs. Harris, I need to tell you something. When we went through your house with the police last night, with your permission, we found things even you didn't know about. Darnell had cameras hidden throughout your home. He'd been recording you for months, editing footage to make you look confused and disoriented." My blood ran cold. "What?" "He'd film you walking into a room, then cut to you walking into the same room an hour later, making it look like you'd forgotten you just did it. He recorded you on the phone, then cut the footage to make conversations seem repeated. He was building a fake documentary of your supposed mental decline." Cynthia squeezed my hand tighter. "But baby, he kept all the original footage too. Every unedited file. And those files prove you were perfectly fine. They prove he was manufacturing evidence." "There's more," Clayton continued. "We found documents showing they'd already taken out a loan against your house, forged your signature. They were in debt, Mrs. Harris. Deep debt. Darnell's real estate business was failing. They needed your house to save themselves from bankruptcy." I closed my eyes. My baby girl. My Jasmine. How had we gotten here? "The grandchildren?" I whispered. "With your Uncle Raymond and Aunt Gloria," Cynthia said. "Child Services got involved after Darnell's arrest. Those babies are safe." Over the next 2 weeks, while I recovered in the hospital and then in a rehabilitation center, the case against Jasmine and Darnell grew stronger. Clayton visited every day with updates. The DA was taking this seriously. Elder abuse cases often got dismissed, he explained, but not this one. Not with video evidence, witnesses, and a clear financial motive. But the real battle was still coming. Even with Darnell arrested, Jasmine was fighting. She'd hired her own lawyer, was claiming she'd been manipulated by her husband, that she'd only wanted what was best for me. And their conservatorship petition was still active. We had to go to court to get it dismissed. "She's going to paint herself as a concerned daughter," Clayton warned me. "She'll cry, she'll apologize, she'll say Darnell was controlling her. The judge might have sympathy." "Then we show them who she really is," I said. The courtroom was packed the day of the hearing. Uncle Raymond and Aunt Gloria were there. Mrs. Patterson from next door. Dolores and Shirley from card games. Half my church congregation showed up, led by Pastor Williams. And in the back, I saw my grandbabies with a social worker. Amari and Zara watching with those big, scared eyes. Jasmine sat at the defendant's table in a modest dress, her hair pulled back, looking every inch the devoted daughter. When our eyes met, she quickly looked away. The judge, a black woman in her 50s named Judge Richardson, reviewed the case files with a frown that deepened with every page she turned. "This is highly irregular," she said. "I'm looking at a petition for conservatorship filed by the daughter, supported by what appears to be substantial documentation of mental decline. But I'm also looking at criminal charges for elder abuse, fraud, and assault filed against both the daughter and son-in-law." Mr. Morrison, you're representing Mrs. Harris? Clayton stood. Yes, Your Honor. And with your permission, we'd like to present evidence that will make clear why this conservatorship petition should not only be denied, but should be seen for what it truly is. Part of a criminal conspiracy to defraud my client of her home and life savings. Proceed. What happened over the next 3 hours was like watching a building collapse in slow motion. Clayton presented everything. Dr. Williams testified about my perfect health, my sharp memory, my cognitive abilities. He brought up my medical records going back years. No signs of decline, no concerns ever raised until Jasmine's sudden worried phone calls. Then came Mrs. Patterson, who testified about seeing Jasmine and Darnell removing items from my house. The bank manager testified about the forged loan documents. The videographer, bless her heart, she looked terrified but stood firm, showed not just the assault, but earlier footage from the party showing Jasmine's rage over a thoughtful gift, her cruel words, her staged concern for the cameras. But the most damning evidence was the hidden camera footage. Clayton had a tech expert walk the judge through it, showing original timestamps versus edited versions. In the real footage, I was lucid, organized, going about my daily life normally. In Darnell's edited versions, I looked confused, lost, forgetful. Your Honor, Clayton said, this wasn't just elder abuse. This was a sophisticated fraud operation. They were creating a false narrative to steal $1 million home from a healthy, competent woman. Judge Richardson looked at Jasmine. Does the petitioner wish to speak? Jasmine's lawyer started to stand, but Jasmine waved him down. She stood up, and I saw tears streaming down her face. For a moment, just a moment, I saw my little girl again. The one who used to help me bake cookies. The one who'd bring me dandelions and call them flowers. Mama, she said, her voice breaking. Mama, I'm so sorry. The courtroom went quiet. I told myself I was helping you. I told myself you needed care. That we were doing the right thing, but that's a lie. She wiped her eyes. Darnell said we'd lose everything if we didn't get money fast. He said you wouldn't even miss the house, that you'd be happier in a care home. And I believed him because I wanted to, because it was easier than admitting I was stealing from my own mother. She turned to face me directly. You gave me everything. You worked yourself to the bone to send me to college. You were there for every recital, every graduation, every hard moment in my life. And the first time I faced real trouble, instead of coming to you for help, I tried to take from you. I tried to steal your home, your dignity, your freedom. Her voice rose, filled with anguish. That quilt you made me? I looked at it after you left, really looked at it. You sewed in pieces from my whole life. My baby blanket, my prom dress, Daddy's shirt. Every piece was a memory, a moment you treasured. And I threw it on the ground like garbage. What kind of person does that to their mother? Jasmine, her lawyer tried to interrupt, but she kept going. I don't deserve forgiveness. I don't deserve mercy. I deserve whatever punishment comes. But please, Your Honor, please don't punish my children for my mistakes. Amari and Zara love their grandmother. They need her, and she... Jasmine's voice broke completely. She's the best person I know. And I tried to destroy her. The silence in the courtroom was absolute. Judge Richardson studied Jasmine for a long moment, then looked at me. Mrs. Harris, would you like to address the court? I stood slowly, my hips still aching but healing. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, and saw something I hadn't seen in months, genuine remorse. Maybe it was too late. Maybe it wasn't. But I knew what I had to say. Your Honor, I'm a mother. I'll always be a mother. And part of being a mother is loving your child even when they hurt you. I took a breath. But love doesn't mean being a fool. My daughter and her husband tried to rob me of everything my husband and I built. They tried to lock me away, to steal my home, to erase my independence. That's not just wrong, it's evil. I saw Jasmine flinch at that word, but I continued. However, I also know my daughter. The real Jasmine, not this person she became when she let greed take over. The real Jasmine loved to help people. She volunteered at the Children's Hospital every summer in high school. She used to bring food to homeless folks downtown. Somewhere inside her, that person still exists. I turned to Judge Richardson. I want the conservatorship petition denied permanently. I want a restraining order keeping both Jasmine and Darnell away from my property. And I want full custody of my grandchildren until their mother really proves, that she can be trusted to put their needs above her wants. Mama, no, please. Jasmine started forward, but her lawyer held her back. Let me finish, I said firmly. But I don't want her in prison. I want her in counseling. I want her to get help for whatever broke inside her that made her think this was okay. I want her to work an honest job and pay back every penny of that forged loan. And I want her to earn her way back into our lives, if that's even possible. Judge Richardson nodded slowly. Mrs. Harris, that's very generous given what you've endured. It's not generous, Your Honor. It's strategic. Those babies need their mother, and they need her whole, not broken by years in prison. But they need her to be someone worthy of them first. The judge made her ruling quickly. The conservatorship petition was denied and stricken from the record. A permanent restraining order was issued. Temporary custody of Amari and Zara was granted to me, with supervised visitation for Jasmine contingent on her completing counseling and making financial restitution. For Darnell, things were different. The assault charge alone was serious, but combined with the fraud, the forged documents, and the conspiracy, he was looking at real prison time. His lawyer tried to negotiate, but Clayton was relentless. Your Honor, Mr. Foster orchestrated this entire scheme. He installed hidden cameras. He edited footage to create false evidence. He forged loan documents. He physically assaulted a 72-year-old woman and caused injuries requiring surgery. He is a danger, and he deserves the maximum penalty under the law. Judge Richardson agreed. Darnell was sentenced to 6 years in prison, with restitution to be paid upon release. As they led him out of the courtroom in handcuffs, he shot me a look of pure hatred. I met his eyes steadily. I'd won, and he knew it. Jasmine received 2 years probation, mandatory counseling, and a work requirement to pay restitution. She'd also have to complete 300 hours of community service at a nursing home, Judge Richardson's idea of poetic justice. As the courtroom cleared, I sat for a moment, just breathing. It was over. I'd protected myself. I'd protected my home. I'd protected my grandbabies. Cynthia appeared at my side. You did it, girl. We did it, I corrected. I couldn't have done this alone. Uncle Raymond and Aunt Gloria came over next, both hugging me tight. Pastor Williams offered a prayer of thanksgiving right there in the courtroom. Mrs. Patterson brought me flowers. She'd had them waiting in her car, she said, because she knew we'd win. Then I heard small voices. Grandma? I turned to see Amari and Zara, the social worker bringing them over. They ran to me, and I hugged them both as tight as my healing hip would allow. Are you coming home with us? Zara asked. Baby, you're coming home with me, I told her, for as long as you need to. What about Mama? Amari's voice was small, scared. I looked over at Jasmine, who was standing alone by her lawyer, watching us. Our eyes met again, and this time neither of us looked away. Your Mama made some bad choices, I told Amari honestly. Real bad ones. But people can change if they want to badly enough. We're going to give her the chance to try. Over the next few months, life slowly found a new rhythm. Amari and Zara moved into my house, filling it with laughter and noise and life again. I enrolled them in the school where I used to teach, and watching them run through those familiar halls brought back good memories. Jasmine came to supervised visits every week. At first, she could barely look at me, but gradually, week by week, we started talking, really talking, about her marriage, about the pressure Darnell had put on her, about how she'd lost herself trying to maintain an image of success. "He said we had to look rich to be rich," she told me one day, tears in her eyes. "I spent money we didn't have on things we didn't need, trying to impress people who didn't care. And when it all fell apart, stealing from you seemed like the only way out." "There's always another way," I said quietly. "You could have come to me. You could have asked for help." I was too ashamed, too proud. She looked at her daughters playing in the backyard. "I've lost everything that mattered, and it's my own fault." "You haven't lost everything," I corrected. "Your daughters still love you. And I'm still here." It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was a start. The quilt I'd made her, the one she'd kicked and crumpled, I'd brought home and washed carefully. One night, about 6 months after the trial, Jasmine asked if she could see it. We spread it out on my kitchen table and she traced each piece with her fingers. "This is from my baptism dress," she whispered, touching a square of white lace. "And this is from the Halloween costume you made me when I was 7. The butterfly." "You remember that?" "I remember everything, Mama. That's what makes this so much harder. I knew better. I was raised better." She looked up at me with red eyes. "How do I teach my daughters to be good people when I've been such a terrible example?" "You teach them by doing better from here on out," I said. "You show them that making mistakes doesn't define you. How you fix them does." A year after the trial, Jasmine completed her counseling and probation. She'd gotten a job as a teacher's aide. Ironic, given that she'd gone to college for business. But she said it felt right, working with kids, giving back. She'd also paid back half the money from the forged loan, working 2 jobs to do it. Clayton helped me set up a trust for the girls with that money. They'd need it for college someday. The day Jasmine finished her court requirements, Judge Richardson invited us back to her chambers. It wasn't required, but she wanted to see how things had turned out. "Mrs. Harris, I've been a judge for 20 years, she said. "I've seen a lot of family cases. Most of them end in permanent estrangement. The fact that you and your daughter are here together, that you've both done the work to heal this relationship, is remarkable." "It's not healed," I said honestly. "It's healing. There's a difference." Jasmine nodded. "I'll probably spend the rest of my life trying to make this right. But Mama's giving me the chance to try, and that's more than I deserve." Judge Richardson smiled. "That's what family means, Ms. Foster. Not perfection, but perseverance." We left the courthouse that day together. As we walked to the parking lot, Jasmine hesitated. "Mama, would you want to have dinner with me and the girls at your house? I could cook. I've been practicing, trying to remember all those recipes you taught me." I studied my daughter. She'd lost weight, probably from working so hard. Her fancy clothes were gone, replaced with simple, practical outfits. But there was something else different, too. A humility in her eyes that hadn't been there before. A genuine softness. "Sunday dinner," I said. 5 o'clock. "And Jasmine? Bring that quilt. It's yours. It was always meant to be yours." That Sunday, my kitchen filled with the smell of fried chicken and collard greens and cornbread. Amari and Zara set the table while Jasmine and I cooked side by side, just like we used to years ago. We didn't talk much. We didn't need to. The work said everything. When we sat down to eat, I looked around my table. My grandbabies laughing. My daughter smiling. A real smile this time. My home filled with family again. It wasn't the same as before. It would never be the same. But maybe it could be something new, something better, built on truth instead of illusion. "Grandma, can we say grace?" Zara asked. "Go ahead, baby." Zara reached for her sister's hand, then her mother's, then mine, creating a circle around the table. "Thank you, God, for bringing our family back together. Thank you for Grandma being strong. Thank you for giving Mama another chance. And thank you for this food. Amen." "Amen," we all echoed. As we ate, I caught Jasmine watching me with tears in her eyes. "I love you, Mama," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." "I know, baby," I said. "I know." It wasn't a fairy tale ending. Jasmine still had years of work ahead to fully regain my trust. Darnell was still in prison and would be for years to come. The scars from what they'd tried to do would never fully disappear. But I had my home. I had my freedom. I had my grandbabies safe and thriving. And I had hope. Hope that my daughter could find her way back to the person she was meant to be. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destroying the people who hurt you. Sometimes it's refusing to let them destroy you. It's standing firm in who you are, protecting what matters, and leaving the door open, just a crack, for redemption. Bernard used to say that strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up, dusting yourself off, and keeping going. I'd fallen, literally and figuratively. But I'd gotten back up. And I was still here, still standing, still loving my family, even when they didn't deserve it. That evening, after Jasmine and the girls left, I sat on my porch in Bernard's old chair. The garden he and I had planted was blooming. The house we'd built together was still mine. The life we'd created was still intact. I pulled out my phone and called Cynthia. "It's over," I told her. "Really over." "How do you feel?" I thought about it. Tired, relieved, grateful, and maybe, just maybe, ready to forgive. "That's very big of you, Evelyn." "No," I said, watching the sunset paint my garden in golden light. "That's just what love looks like when it refuses to quit." Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.